Aloha and how's it? Today we're talking all about how to grow your LinkedIn connections fast. So, more on that in a minute. How was your weekend? I spent some time finishing up the mango harvesting. As you can see, if you're looking behind me, I filled almost the entire freezer with mangoes, and I'm eating mangoes about 3 times a day right now just to get through all of them. So, it's a good problem to have. I love my mangoes, my favorite fruit. But since it's summertime here, I haven't done much surfing except for a quick trip into town. I did try to surf a new spot and I ended up dry docking on the reef. So basically, that's when your board like runs on the reef and you ding up your board on the bottom. So my favorite 20 is at the ding repair, sad face right now. But hopefully, I'll be able to redeem myself on my board once it's fixed during my next surf session. All part of the game. And if you haven't checked out my podcast, the Mango Effect podcast, you'll get to hear an episode this week just launched that touches on the power of momentum in our businesses and careers. And I go into why momentum is often more valuable than money in the bank when it comes to growing a business or building out revenue streams. Plus, I have a good surfing metaphor in there for you if you like my surfing metaphors. And there are another 2 dozen episodes up there for you to listen to if you want to hear about all things lifestyle design, entrepreneurship, living in Hawaii, setting goals, becoming your own boss, and more. Now it is time for Mondays with Mindy. This is a weekly show on Monday afternoons if you're based in the US, where I talk about all things LinkedIn pipeline, promo, and profiles, if I can say it, what I call the 3 Ps of LinkedIn. So, do you have questions about LinkedIn that you want me to answer? Be sure to like this post whether you're watching live or from the replay. Leave your questions below. Today's topic actually comes from a question I was recently asked. So make sure to leave your questions and comments below. I will answer them after the show or on a future episode of Mondays with Mindy. Let's get right to today's topic. How do we actually grow our LinkedIn connections faster, especially when we are reaching out to people we don't know? So, last week we talked about how to get into conversations that lead to new clients on LinkedIn, which really leads us to today's topic about growing our network with the right people, which by its nature will help us get more clients. So, getting connections on LinkedIn is very different from other social channels where you're simply trying to get followers. So I want to be very clear here. Connections on LinkedIn are not followers. Connections are people you have intentionally chosen to add to your network because there is an obvious mutual benefit for the two of you to be connected professionally. So followers can still happen on LinkedIn, but they should be treated just a little bit differently than your connections. When it comes to LinkedIn, should you just sit there and wait for the right connections to ask you to connect? Or does it help to be a bit more on the proactive side? We talked about making the first move before, and growing your network is one place where you want to do exactly that. You want to take charge of your network growth. You don't want to just let it happen to you. You want to make it happen for you. So, on one of my recent Mondays with Mindy's episodes, someone asked a great question. I'm going to pop it up onto the screen here. How do you actually grow your network through cold outbound networking as a parallel strategy to inbound content? So that really got me thinking about today's topic. And I said, I know we talked about this before, but it's been a while. And I really want to get into the nitty gritty of connection invitations. What actually works, especially if you don't actually know this person? What should you say? So here's what could happen if you just let your LinkedIn network happen to you. Maybe some of you are going to relate to some of these scenarios I'm going to describe. So you could end up on the receiving end of a bunch of LinkedIn connections from people who don't care to know you or just trying to pitch you something. Like, how many of us have received connection invitations where we're like, why are you talking to me? I don't want to hear your sales pitch. And it's very, very frustrating sometimes. Or maybe your network turns into a big following. So you don't have that strategic element to it. So it's really not a good prospecting or business collaboration tool. So you may have this massive network. I have people come to me who have like 25, 30,000 connections, but they don't know what to do with them because they are so immersed in what they were doing before and they were trying to build that following, but not really focused on the connections portion. So you don't want to be in that camp. And some other people may never quite hit that 500 plus connections mark. If you're just waiting for people to come to you, You may never hit 500 plus. At that rate, it may take you some years to get to that point, which means that the people you want to reach are actually a little bit wary and accepting a connection from you. If you're under that 500 mark, people are a little bit more guarded and are like, are you really on LinkedIn? I don't know. Are you going to spam me? Do you really know how LinkedIn works? So that 500 plus connections mark is still important to hit just to show that you are on LinkedIn. You're solid. You're a real person. You're not trying to spam people. Or maybe you have a solid LinkedIn network, but you haven't really done anything with it. You might have gotten all excited about LinkedIn some years back, some months ago, and you're like, Mindy, I actually have a great network, but you are leaving big money on the table because you don't know how to proactively engage with the people there or how to add more of those right people to your network. So today, let's figure out how to get your network growing consistently. We are going to talk about a few of my favorite connection formulas for cold outbound connections, some tips about how to find the right people to reach out to, and a really simple way you can keep in touch with your new connections. And it doesn't have to take a ton of time to do. So keep this in mind. We are going to talk about a number of things, but really, once you get going, it's pretty seamless. It doesn't take that long. I probably spend 5 to 10 minutes per day growing my LinkedIn network, engaging, responding to messages. It doesn't take me that long. It's been a process. I had to figure out how to go about this in a way that worked for me. But once you have your process, you are set, you are solid. So let's talk about that process now. So, aloha. For those who don't know me, my name is Mindy Rosser. I'm the founder of Mindy Rosser Marketing, and I have a group program called the LinkedIn Accelerator for those who want to go from 0 to 60 on LinkedIn with their profile and their network. If you're catching this live or within a few days of it airing, we just kicked off the July cohort of the LinkedIn Accelerator today as you are watching this. So, we are spending an awesome 5 days together working on our LinkedIn profiles, growing our networks, and touching on all the things we need to grow our business and land our dream jobs using LinkedIn. So I help professionals who feel they are the best kept secret in their industry to become that go to visible expert in their niche so they can get that next opportunity, grow their business, and scale their impact on LinkedIn. In this live, we are going to talk about why only waiting for people to come to you and add you to their LinkedIn network is causing you to miss out on actually growing your business with valuable relationships that start on LinkedIn, and how you can feel confident growing your connections to accelerate your business, kickstart the right relationships, and generate more leads. So, are you ready? Let's do this. This is one of my favorite topics. I know I say that about most of these, but this one is really fun. So, go ahead and like this post, whether you're live or watching from the replay, to give it some social love. All right, so we're going to talk about why people join LinkedIn. Why do we engage? What should we be aware of as we are connecting? Are there shortcuts we should avoid? What are some things you want to be thinking about as you are growing your network? One of the first things I'm going to mention, which is probably not what you were thinking, is that you need to protect your personal brand on LinkedIn. So you're like, Mindy, what does that mean? Too many people join or start actually using LinkedIn thinking that there's a shortcut. There's an automation that can build their LinkedIn network on autopilot. They can either find a tool for 49 bucks a month or hire someone for a few $100s a month who promises to grow their LinkedIn network by a few thousand. No problem. It's really easy. We got it covered. So this freelancer will simply run a LinkedIn search and mass blast connection requests on your behalf, and boom, instant network, right? All of a sudden, you're going to be making so much money on LinkedIn with all of these new connections. But little do you know, this is the fastest way to damage your personal brand for good on LinkedIn. You want to be really, really thoughtful. If somebody says they are going to manage your LinkedIn account for you, or they're going to hook up a tool that's going to send connection invitations or view profiles, be very skeptical, be very wary, ask a lot of good questions. Once you are labeled as a spammer, many people will write you off for a very long time. You want to be thoughtful about who you turn over your LinkedIn account to. If anybody is helping you, even if you have a trusted virtual assistant who helps you manage your account, make sure that you do trust them and that you are aware of everything that they are doing, that they have very clear instructions on what they should or should not do with your account. And for most people, I would say Don't give your credentials to anyone unless you trust them very, very much. Okay. It is very difficult to get trust back on LinkedIn once it is gone, especially with connection invitations. If somebody sends a message on your behalf, if they put a typo in there, if they put the wrong first name in there as they are sending the connection, it looks pretty tacky and it looks bad. You definitely don't want that staying there. And the problem with LinkedIn messages and connection invitations is that once you send it and the person accepts, it is there forever. So you cannot erase that message. So please be aware of this. You can actually delete, like some of you will say, well, Mindy, you can use the delete a message feature on LinkedIn. Yes, you can, but caveat there is that people will see that you deleted a message and it hurts worse than if you send something and actually apologize for it. So keep that in mind. Stuff is there forever. You want to be really, really thoughtful because your messaging history is always attached to your name and it never goes away. It is very different than email, where you can make a blunder via email and nobody will remember. On LinkedIn, it's always attached to you as a human, as a person. So anytime you send a new message to someone in the future, they will see the stream of messages that were sent previously. So some people are like, Mindy, I don't really care. I still want to just grow my network as fast as possible. I'm going to try one of these tools, or I'm going to hire somebody really cheap to send these for me. Okay. You can take that risk. You can risk it all, especially if you use a LinkedIn automation tool. I will actually put a link to them after the show so you can see which tools are prohibited by LinkedIn, some blacklisted tools. What they are trying to do is they're trying to trick LinkedIn into sending a bazillion connection invitations. And what it's doing is going into your account and it is against the LinkedIn rules. So if you do that and LinkedIn catches you, what they will do is they will restrict your account, which you do not want. If your account goes down even for a day or two or 7 days or a couple weeks, I've had some people say that it's been down for months and they still cannot get it back, even after reaching out to LinkedIn. You just have to be so thoughtful. So really do not go with automation. If anybody is telling you their tool can view profiles or send connection invitations, run the other way as fast as you can. All right. I just want to warn you because I know many of us are getting pitched by these people. I get messages all the time. And so I want you to be aware that that is not a good strategy when it comes to LinkedIn. It is not worth it to shortcut the system. Your personal brand and your reputation is at stake every time you delegate a message, a profile view, a connection invitation sent via your LinkedIn profile. So protect it. It is very valuable. Yes, you may get some immediate wins when you grow your network this way, but you will struggle when it comes to continuing the conversation or getting it started in a really natural way. So there is a better way. So let's talk about that. All right. So when you treat your LinkedIn connection, when you treat your network like your most prized professional networking, engagement, and growth tool, its value exponentially increases. Instead of treating LinkedIn like every other social network out there, where you're simply looking at the number of followers, kind of hoping that they're the right people, your LinkedIn network can be your go to resource for every people aspect of your business. For example, do you need a great designer? Look up Jessie on LinkedIn. Yes, that is the name of my designer, and she is pretty good. Are you ready to prospect? It's time to use Sales Navigator and start developing relationships with decision makers at companies you want to work for. Are you looking to hire a new team member? Post on LinkedIn. See the flood of resumes come in. Whether or not you're actively trying to find a new job, launch a product, promote your upcoming book, reach out to your perfect prospects, you should always be connecting. So, ABC, always be connecting. So always, always, always be connecting, always reaching out to connect with people on LinkedIn. When you keep your LinkedIn growing with the right people, you will have just the right ratios of professionals in your network. Your LinkedIn network is almost like, I would say it's like career or business insurance. In case anything goes south, maybe you lose a job, you lose a big client, lose a big contract, you've actually got a number of great relationships already established that you can go into your network and immediately fill that void. So, how do we go about building a LinkedIn network fast and in the right way? You're like, okay, Mindy, you just told me I can't shortcut it. So, how do I actually do this in a way that doesn't take me hours a day to send all of these connection invitations that I need to send? So, first of all, let's talk about who. Who should be in your LinkedIn network? So, I want you to think about your LinkedIn network right now. Okay, so pause or slow down here. Who is inside of your network? If you're thinking about maybe prospects, do you have a lot of colleagues that you've worked with in the past? Maybe you're connected to a lot of recruiters when you were trying to find a job. Maybe some prospects that you tried reaching out to ages ago. Maybe some business colleagues you want to collaborate with. So, kind of think about the ratio of different types of people that you have in your network. Are there any specific groups missing or in poor supply? Like if you are thinking about your network, are you saying, Mindy, actually am not connected to a lot of colleagues and people that I know. There's this one community that I'm a part of, and I'm not connected to all the members in there. That would be a great place to start. Maybe you want to add more leads to your network. So you're thinking, Mindy, I really should focus on business development and I need to get more prospects and leads because I need what we talked about last week with how to get new clients. I want that pipeline. I want to have lots of conversations with my ideal prospects. I want to use LinkedIn to do it. Then you're going to focus on leads. You're going to focus on that cold outreach. So think about the category of people or the type of people that you want to add. This is where you're going to start. So if you're trying to grow your network fast, okay, we're talking about speed here. You might want to focus first on people whom you already know on other social media channels or in professional associations or other online groups. If people are already familiar with your name or they share a common interest, they are going to be much more likely to accept your connection invitation. So, this is really, really important as you are thinking about your approach to your LinkedIn network. If it's to get leads and prospects and conversations, then you may not be growing your network as big because it is tougher to get leads and prospects to connect with you. But if you are looking to simply grow your network quickly and you want to get the right people in there, then you could actually go the approach of reaching out to colleagues and people that are kind of in the same space to get those numbers up. And maybe they can refer you or introduce you to people. So it's a little bit of a different approach. So there is no right or wrong. It's just figuring out what is your next step. So here's an example of how I applied this for myself. So, not too long ago, I joined a course called Digital Course Academy by Amy Porterfield. Fantastic program. I will probably be talking about it and raving about it because she's doing another launch in the next couple of months. But it's an incredible program. So, very meta, I know. And I noticed a number of people in that community who I felt would be a great addition to my LinkedIn network for a variety of reasons. So I began reaching out to the people that were going through this same course while we were going through the course. And I started having a huge number of one-to-one conversations in my LinkedIn DMs as a result. A number of them actually bought my program and have gone through the LinkedIn Accelerator. Why is this? Because we shared a common interest and we had something we could immediately talk about that was not related to, I want to sell you something. I was not going there with the intention of trying to pitch all of these people saying, buy my course, buy my course. I'm creating a course, buy my course. That was not the intention. I literally wanted to build my network with people on the same journey. And if we can help each other in some way, great. I have bought courses from some of them as well, which is really beautiful because it's like we are all learning. We are in the same space. We are in different spaces, have different niches, but we are on a similar path. So, is there a group or a community that you're an active member of where you could start connecting with people there who'd also be on LinkedIn? I think that is going to be critical as you are figuring this out. So, one word of caution here: do not be spammy in how you approach people. The wording and the approach that you choose here is really key and very important. And that's what we're going to talk about next. So, what do you actually say? When you're thinking about someone that you want to connect with, what do you say to them? So, this all depends on the type of people you are reaching out to. If you're simply trying to build your network fast, like you looked at the title, you're like, I'm going fast, Mindy, I want it big and I want to go fast, then you're going to focus on adding people who are the most likely to say yes and accept your connection invitation. So to get them to accept, your message should be very obviously beneficial to them and to you. So, first of all, let me be clear. You should rarely send a connection invitation without a personalized message. You are allowed to do this. LinkedIn will let you just, send a connection. And I have had people come to me and say, Mindy, I'm having everyone accept my connection invitation and I'm sending like 100 a week. And I'm like, well, are you actually writing personalized messages to all of them? They're like, no. I'm just going into LinkedIn and I'm clicking check on 100 people and I can't get any of them to talk to me. I'm like, Oh, at that moment in time, I'm like, that is the nuance to LinkedIn. You cannot just start a connection that way and expect it to lead to anywhere good. When you do that, when you take the shortcut and you just invite a bunch of people by clicking a button and you don't write a message, it is really hard to start that conversation. It's really hard to kind of break into the conversation and start it in a natural way where it doesn't feel kind of pitchy or weird. So be thoughtful and write a personalized message unless that person has come across you elsewhere. For example, maybe you were just exchanging comments on a LinkedIn post or you were in touch via email. If that's the case, you can just send one without writing a personalized message. That's fine. They know who you are. But otherwise, it is best to send a connection invitation that's personalized to the recipient. You want to make sure that they know you have done your homework. So, what does this LinkedIn connection message actually look like? So, I'm going to share a few examples so you can get some ideas. I don't want you copying and pasting these and just thinking, oh, these are fantastic. I'm going to use exactly this. That's not the intention. These are meant to inspire you and to get you thinking about what you could say. All right. So, one of the ones we'll talk about is what I call the shared community invitation. So, this is a connection invitation I used. I'm going to pop it on the screen when I was going through Seth Godin's Alt MBA program. I was in class number 6, which was quite a long time ago. Because I sent it while we were going through the program together, most people accepted. It was really easy. I just said, hi, first name, just howdy on LinkedIn. I'm excited about this journey over the next however many days. At that point, it was 24 days. If I can be of help in any way, don't hesitate to ask, how do you feel about P3? Now, you wouldn't know what P3 is unless you've been through Alt MBA, but basically that's the third project. And so by using the lingo, by using the language, it shows that I am doing my homework. I know we are in this together. It's a pretty, was a pretty small cohort. There were enough people where I could reach out to everybody individually. So it made sense to send a message like this. And can you imagine that most people said yes? It was a very intense experience. So we all kind of had this camaraderie. It was unspoken, it was spoken, it was something we all felt as we were going through it. So it was a no brainer for them to accept that connection. So notice that I'm referencing a common experience we're sharing, and I am not selling anything here. I merely want to connect. So, on a side note, as a result of this outreach, I actually got connected with a team member who years later reached out with an intro that led me to a project, in the six-figure range. Okay. So I hadn't tried to sell anything. I literally was just connected with the right person when they had a need I could solve. All right. So the community one, this is my favorite. I use it all the time. Now, those of you who are watching this, if you've received a connection invitation from me and we are in a community together, you probably got something very similar. And I do that on purpose because it is one of my favorite ways to connect. And I love online communities. All right. So let's talk about the next one. This one is what I call the event follow up. So whenever I attend a live event or watch the replay from an industry event, I always reach out to the presenters or people who are active commenters and seem to share a common interest or perspective. So these connection requests tend to get a very high acceptance rate because I time them well. Sometimes I will even send the LinkedIn connection invitation while they are giving a presentation to show them I'm actually watching live and paying attention. So I sent this one to Amy Landino during StreamYard's live stream summit. She accepted right away. It was fantastic. So, watching your live presentation right now, and I love the analogy of the dead fish handshake. Presentation is resonating with me, and how live videos are different from recorded videos. Lots to learn, and thanks for sharing your expertise today. So, if you were on the receiving end of that connection, would you accept? Of course you would. It's not hard to accept an invitation from a fan who's obviously paying attention to your work. So that's a really clever way to get connected, especially if you're thinking, Mindy, I would love to have more thought leaders or forward thinkers in my network. Go to one of their presentations and reach out to them immediately afterwards or during the presentation. It's an easy in and it's an easy way to get that conversation started. All right, so here's another one. we're in the same space. So if there's someone you admire or that's pretty active on LinkedIn or other social channels, then it's an easy opportunity for you to reach out to them, mentioning something they recently discussed publicly. So here's an example I actually received from someone who attended one of my webinars, and they actually would be a great resource for me to collaborate with or refer business to. So here's what they said to me. Great webinar, Mindy. I learned a lot. Nice to meet you as a fellow blogger for this B2B community. I am glad to have another B2B person on the team. Let's link up here, shall we? Of course, I'm going to say yes. Like, we are in the same space. We're kind of talking about similar topics, but different audiences, and we're on this journey together. So, this is a light touch LinkedIn connection request that referenced something I did and also showed that we run in similar professional circles. So, who doesn't love coming across someone else in the same space? You never know where new business opportunities may come from. Some of us get so focused on like cold leads and we only message them and we forget about all these other warmer audiences that could actually help us grow our businesses faster, could help us get that reach that we're looking for, get that momentum. So, there you have it, who you should reach out to grow your network fast, and a few examples of what to say to get their attention and encourage them to accept your invitation. So I know we're not going into an extensive, you know, conversation around every single type of connection invitation you can send. But what I want you to do is start thinking differently about connection invitations, what you can say. You can use anything, you can connect with people in such unique ways. So don't get stuck when you're thinking, "Oh, I don't know what to say." When you don't know what to say, think about a commonality, think about something that you share, compliment them on something. These are some easy ways to get on their radar. So then what happens after the person accepts? We talked a little bit about this last week with the how to get new clients on LinkedIn. If you haven't seen that one, you must watch that live stream. That one is really, really juicy and good, especially if you want LinkedIn lead generation. So what happens after they accept? This is something that I will actually get into more detail about in another upcoming video. So stay tuned for that. But here's a quick tip. Many of these connection invitations may get accepted and no follow up is immediately necessary. So if the person accepts, but they do not respond, and you don't feel compelled to say anything right away, don't just leave it. Leave it. It's fine. You can always reach back out to them later down the line and reference the how you got connected sometime back and why you're reaching out now. It will not feel odd to people, and it's better than an awkward message that's like, I think I should follow up with something here, but I'm not sure exactly what to say. And you send something really silly. So sometimes just getting connected is enough. So be satisfied with the connection, especially if there's, not a back and forth right away. Sometimes people just need to get to know you and they need to follow your work. Once you're connected, they're going to start seeing your LinkedIn post. If you're sharing things, they're going to be a part of your network and your world. So just be patient. Sometimes you don't need to press the issue right away. So if the conversation does lead to a back and forth messaging exchange, go with it. Like, keep it natural, light, and to the point. LinkedIn messages are not the time where you need to get wordy and tell them your entire professional story. If it needs to be moved off to email, then do it. If it feels pretty casual, just keep it on LinkedIn. All right, so we talked about a lot today: connection invitations, how to grow your network, what types of people do you want in your network, how do you approach them, where are you finding commonalities. So, how are you feeling about growing your LinkedIn network now? Like, do you feel a little bit, even just a point, like on a scale of 1 to 10, you feel a little bit more confident about what you should do next? It's really not that hard. And we make it so hard. We make it like this big thing. Like, if we do it wrong, or if we spam people, or if people don't accept, it's not that big a deal. People don't accept, you just withdraw the connection invitation. No big deal. It's not that hard, especially if you're approaching LinkedIn like a human and starting with people or communities you are already familiar with. In those cases, it's so much easier to get the connection started. And if you are looking to just get that quick start, colleagues, communities, groups where you are an active member, where people would say, "Oh yeah, I have seen you in that group." And it doesn't end there, but that's a topic for another day. We can talk about other audience another time. So if you're still struggling to figure out how to approach your network growth, that's okay. Post a question below, or if you have a specific question, shoot me a direct message. Obviously, I love my LinkedIn DMs, so shoot me a message on LinkedIn if you want to discuss this. And if you're looking for that extra edge to get started on your LinkedIn profile, you'll want to check out my free LinkedIn profile guide. I'm going to see if I have the link here so I can pop it on the screen. There you go. You can see it. This will help you dial in the most important sections of your LinkedIn profile so you can start sending those connection invitations that convert. Most people find that once they have a profile that they're proud of, it is so much easier to send those connection invitations, which is why I talk about LinkedIn profiles a lot. Because once you have it dialed, once it's optimized, you're going to be able to connect and grow your network so much faster. All right, so I will see you all next week on Mondays with Mindy. Feel free to leave any questions or comments below, and my inbox is open if you want to message me directly. I'm looking forward to it. Have a beautiful rest of your week, and bye for now.